The day started with a Swiss person, the day will end with a Swiss person. And I will make it short because I am very well aware of the fact that I'm the last obstacle between you and the drinks waiting outside. So, nevertheless, it is a serious topic that we are dealing here with. I just checked it on the internet. The International Energy Agency requires this planet to provide in the next 30 years 40% more primary energy, because we have a big problem that we all addressed today, essentially. More than 1 billion people on this planet Earth have no access to electricity. They have no access to safe cooking. They have no access to decent sanitation. And we have an obligation to help these people to attain a living standard as we all enjoy it, and we rightly so enjoy it, and they also deserve it. On the same time, as we all are aware of, we have a global warming, climate warming problem. CO2 and other greenhouse gases are emitted in an ever larger proportion by all of us. I again checked it. If you want to keep this 2-degree limit that we all talk about, Paris and all the other meetings that were mentioned, I don't know if you're aware of, but we are now at the peak of the allowable CO2 emitted. So from now on, essentially, we should emit less CO2. We don't have any leeway anymore. It's now time to stop emitting more CO2. And I'm extremely pleased to have seen so many good ideas today that help achieving this very, very ambitious goal. Ladies and gentlemen, as Robert told you, I'm a professor at the Technical University, and I'm a firm believer that if you want to achieve these goals, science, the basis of all, technology, and what is here today, economy, must work together. The time is over where we can make small steps by subsidizing, by nudging, by helping here and there. Don't be mad at me by giving away awards. This is nice and helps, of course. But it is now time to make big steps, and I'm convinced and I'm sure that big steps can only be achieved if economy steps in, if what we do makes sense from a business perspective. Therefore, I should not make any political statements, but I still, nevertheless, will do one. I'm convinced that this planet needs to agree on a price on CO2. As long as we don't price CO2, there is no chance to really get away from it. I'm not responsible for it, but I know that in this room there are people who can help in that. We need a price, a global price on CO2. It doesn't help to have a local one. Now let's go back to business. I checked the figures again. The European Union has some 2% of its GDP in the clean tech arena. I'm very proud of my country. We have 8% of our GDP in the clean tech arena. Some 50 billion Swiss francs are created of value every year in Switzerland in the clean tech arena. You mentioned that in the UK 200,000 people almost are working in this field. Switzerland has 500,000 people working in this field. It is unbelievable, but true, why Switzerland is a country, one of the few countries that has not deindustrialized so far. So more than 20% of our GDP is still producing in the manufacturing industry. That's the reason why, although we are much smaller than you guys, we still have quite a substantial workforce there. But I have to insist on something. This is not new clean tech alone. This is also old clean tech, and people try to forget about that. But if you look at companies like ABB, we had today a person here from ABB, Tosa, Bruce. ABB, of course, does since hundreds of years. Before it became ABB, it was BBC. It did clean tech. It made safer, cleaner, more efficient gas turbines, electric machines, whatever. And it's important to realize that clean tech is not something that has been invented now. It has been going on for a long time, and it has to be going on for an even longer time. And I'm delighted to have seen 36 highly motivated groups working on that. They are not demanding a lot. If I summed it up correctly, it's 50 million pounds. Come on. Walk over to the city, 50 million pounds. What's that? It's nothing, right? I don't know how many billions of pounds they turn over every day in the city of London, but I'm sure it's much more than the 50 million that we are needing here in this room. So we need to shift the focus. All areas have been addressed. I'm very glad about that. Carbon-free primary energy, very efficient transportation, control of energy flows, and very efficient usage of primary energy to produce useful energy. And by that I gave you a very small lesson in how to correctly term the terms energy. There is primary energy and then there is useful energy. And if you just talk about energy, it can be a little bit confusing. But sorry, I'm a professor. I cannot refrain to give classes all the time. I admire your courage, I admire your grit, I admire your stamina. For me, you're all winners, and I would really explicitly congratulate you all for what you do. I'm extremely proud to have students of mine here sitting on this bench, and I'm even more proud that this is a community that really tries to change this world. Scientists, entrepreneurs, engineers together, we can change this world. I don't think we could have found a better fitting place to have this symposium than the Royal Institution. I hope you're all aware that this is the house, of course not the physical house, but the house of Michael Faraday. And Michael Faraday is probably one of the most important engineers, inventors that this planet has ever seen. I am very proud to be a Swiss person, but I would have loved to have Michael Faraday being a Swiss national. This guy had not a formal training. He was not going through the university system, but he was so like you guys. He was so much focused on what he wanted to achieve that he worked in his time as an apprentice in a lab, and he invented things, he discovered things that we are all profiting from. The induction principle, the electric motor would not have been possible without Michael Faraday's achievements. We can all be proud, and you British people can be particularly proud of people like Michael Faraday. I'm really honored to be in his house, essentially. Once again, all what we are doing here comes from science and technology. May I ask you, please do not forget that. Before you can make a business, you need an invention. Before you can make an invention, you need to understand nature, and that's called science. So whenever you pay taxes, whenever you support your kids for going through university, whenever you fund some projects in universities, remember, we produce the Michael Faradays of tomorrow. And without Michael Faradays of tomorrow, there won't be a day after tomorrow, at least not a pleasant day. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, let me compliment all the pictures. I was impressed by the quality, I was impressed by the breadth. It really went from ideas that have a lot of potential to concrete business cases that essentially just need a growth model and not anymore a venture model. I'm sure that this is what we should achieve, a bright palette of all these possible approaches. And I'm also particularly pleased to see that there is a close connection between the way British people think and the way Swiss people think. What is this? It is combining science and technology to make a good living out of it, to make a business out of it. And I hope that these shared values will help us make even more connections, even more joint ventures. I'm looking forward to that. I thank you very much for your patience listening to me. And most importantly of all, I wish you a very nice reception with a nice glass of wine and beer in your hand and good ideas for the next generation of startups. Thank you very much.